Hello and welcome to episode 46 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest news and rumors for our beloved Nintendo, as well as a celebration of all of the things Nintendo. My name is Kevin, and with me this week to talk about all of the things that happened in the last 2 weeks that we missed is Harrison. How you doing, Harrison?
Hey, I'm doing well. I'm happy to be back and feeling good. Yeah, feeling good again. So I'm
So
ready.
if any of you out there don't follow us on Twitter, I have to apologize that we missed the last 2 weeks. What happened was the first time a few of us were feeling a little under the weather, and we decided to not do the podcast that week. And then the next week, what happened? I don't even think I told Harrison this. I just told them I couldn't record that night. So the night we normally record that week was the day I started my new job, and it's in Boston. And the garage I parked at for my first day of work was way too expensive. So my wife and I figured we have to figure out where I'm going to park the next day and do a lot of parking garage research instead of recording a podcast that night. So that's why I wasn't able to record that night, as we had to figure out a cheaper option for me to park for work, which we did, and we're good now.
I mean, part of being in Boston, or right? I don't want to dox you.
No,
Uh,
yeah, I think it's safe to say that I work in Boston. I don't think people will find me from that.
oh, okay. I mean, he's not. It's just Kevin, guys. I mean, it's just he's great. He's great. Like, but yeah. Well, I'm happy to be back. I was out of town for a week in between shows and had a great time on my trip, but got really sick on the last day or so, and I was out of everything for about a week. So feeling good. Looking forward to the holidays, and this is the busy time of year for me. Uh, yeah. So, Kevin, have you played anything new or anything you want to tell us?
Oh yeah, I've got actually a bunch of stuff I've been thinking about this week. So as far as new stuff, I'm still working on that back catalog. I finished Doom 64, which was one of my back catalog games, and I think I'm going to start a deep bench back catalog pick. I've had this game on my mind for a few days now. I think I'm gonna knock out Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube, which is a game I've had since it came out on the GameCube, but I never finished it. I've played it. I made it, I feel like halfway in at a certain point, but never finished that game. So I think that's going to be next because it's been on my mind lately. They
I don't
should
think I played that one.
they should re-release that for Switch. They're doing everything else. They want to forget that game existed. Oh, it was made by Rare. That's why they can't.
Yeah.
But whatever. Um, and I also finished Super Mario RPG, all the optional bosses, and 100% of that game. Got all the ultimate weapons and all that stuff that you do. Everything optional. I even got the star in the fireworks at the end, which I don't know if everybody knows that, but like the fireworks in the ending, you can either have a mushroom, or I forget the other one, and then there's a star, and it depends on how many fireworks you buy in the game. So you have to keep buying fireworks, and you get better fireworks. Uh, what else did I play? Oh, Pikmin 2. I I don't know. I got a lot to say about Pikmin this week. Maybe you should talk about what you played, and then we can circle back to that.
Yeah. Well, I finished Mario RPG my first night of my trip. I was further along than I thought, so I've been done since like the last time we recorded, and I haven't gone back. I don't know at this point if I'm going to 100% it from this save file, or it's just going to be the next time I play it, because I will play it again. With Mario RPG, do you think like when they were developing this game originally, do you think they had the replayability of it in mind? Because I've been thinking a lot lately about how like I have a friend who says like he only plays games if he knows they're like really long games, like Witcher or like Red Dead or something like that, perhaps. But I've been thinking about how, like, if this is a 15, 20 hour game, I could probably play it like once a year or so.
Yeah,
Um,
it's funny you bring that up because I wish Sean was here. I was texting him about this week because he mentioned how he had just started it and he's hoping he can finish it before the end of the year. And I was like, you probably will. It's a short game. And what I was saying in this conversation was I like that it's short because it means that, and this is probably how it wound up being like my favorite video game, is because the original's just as short, if not maybe even shorter. And it might have wound up being my favorite game that way because every time I start a file, I finish it. That's not a game that like, oh, I've started it a million times but never gone anywhere. So that definitely helps. And thinking there's a lot of really good games that are about that length. Like you've got Mario RPG, you've got A Link to the Past. Nobody ever brings up how short that game is, but it's
mhm.
about the same. Like A Link to the Past by today's standards is a really short game. Uh might even be shorter than Mario RPG. It's about 15 hours. Um Chrono Trigger, depending on which ending you go for, Chrono Trigger's about a 20-hour game as well. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there. That's just off the top of my head. Most of the original Mario games, I'm sure, are under 20 hours, like Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World, that type of thing.
Yeah, I'm sure it was also the era that it was in, and a reason why it's aged well, and then it's been now re-released. So yeah, I mean,
I think
because
also
of
a big part of why it was such a big hit at the time is it was another one of those games pre-internet where there are a decent amount of secret things and Easter eggs in the game, and you might not have seen them all, so you play through again to see if you catch anything different this time.
do you have any one and done games that are like in your top 10 or like one of your favorites, like a game you've only played once or that you're only going to play once?
No, I tend to obsess over things, and I think I've said on this podcast before, a big problem with why I have like a big black hole in my gaming history is there was like a 5 to 10 year period where I was just replaying the same games over and over again. Just all of the Final Fantasies, all the Legend of Zeldas, all the Marios, just replaying the same, like, probably about 10 franchises on a loop. Metal Gear Solid was in there. What else? Mega Man. And I just kept playing them over and over again. And I wasn't playing anything new. So like the whole like it's around the era of the Nintendo Wii. I wasn't playing new games in that generation. I was just playing old stuff.
Yeah, I can only think of one, and it's very long. Like Dragon Quest Builders 2, I've brought up many times on here. I've only done the campaign, the story mode one time because it is about 60 hours, and then there's so much you can do in the post game where I feel like I would spend hundreds of hours before I'd even want to go back. And that's only a game that at this point it's only a game that I play like once a month or so. So yeah, too many games, and that might be like one of the like that has to be a top 10 game of mine, and it's probably the only one of my list that I'd play maybe once,
You
hopefully
know what?
sometime in the future.
Right now, I could probably say right now, Pikmin 4 is that for me because that's definitely a game that I loved and might even be like in my top, like maybe top 20 games. Like I really liked that game when I played it, and I have not replayed it yet, but I will. Um, all of the Pikmin games. I played Pikmin 1 a few times. I'm playing Pikmin 2 for the first time now. And yeah, I guess Pikmin 1 is the only Pikmin I replayed. But Pikmin 4, I'm definitely going to replay. I got Pikmin. We might as well get into the Pikmin stuff I want to talk about since it's on my brain. Um,
Okay, yeah.
so Shout out to Pikmin for winning best sim slash strategy game at the Game Awards. That was really cool. I didn't see that coming.
Me neither.
I don't know if it won any others, but that was really really cool. Like I'm just glad it won something, because it was such a good game and it wasn't nominated for Game of the Year. So give it
Yeah.
something.
I didn't
Um,
I didn't catch that part. They didn't like that. That's one of the ones they skipped over, right? They didn't do a
y-
speech.
yeah, no, I don't think they did a speech or anything. I saw
No,
it listed online.
no. Okay. Because they did for Zelda. They did for Zelda, which made most of us, I think, anticipate it wasn't going to win Game of the Year, because typically they only do one speech. So once Zelda won Action Adventure, we kind of assumed that it wasn't going to win anything else. But I'm veering off. Pikmin, Pikmin
Yeah.
one,
So no, well, Pikmin won as in won the award, not Pikmin won as in the first game.
the first one.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about, I stumbled down a rabbit hole this week with Pikmin, off of this like random thing I looked into. So I'm playing Pikmin 2, and I noticed that there's a part where Olimar, the main character, he makes a noise that reminded me of, oh, and I should have taken notes on this. What's his name? The doctor from Luigi's Mansion, the
Oh,
scientist.
the
Doctor,
scientist. Yeah.
um what is
I
his
don't.
name? It's Professor Egad,
Yeah. Okay.
or Professor Gad. It's Professor
Yeah.
Elvin Gad, and it's
Yeah.
E.
Yeah.
Gad. Okay.
Okay.
Um So yeah, anyway, so the Olimar from Pikmin makes a noise that sounds like Professor Egad, while you're playing. I noticed it was like a type of little thing, and since both of those games premiered on the GameCube, uh, it's reasonable to assume they were in development at about the same time. The first one, the first Pikmin especially. So I looked into it and I was like, is there anything online about why Olimar basically talks like Professor Egad? Because I also, when I started to think about it, I was like, you know what? He also looks like
Looks like
Professor
him.
Egad. Like,
Hmm.
not exactly, but they do have like a resemblance, right?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I stumbled on this fan theory, which I am not a person who normally goes into fan theories, but I kind of like this one. So the fan theory is that because Professor Egad is kind of a chaotic neutral type of evil scientist, like he's not, he just creates things to create things. Like he makes Gooigi, he makes all the stuff that Luigi uses in the Luigi's Mansion games, but he's not trying to do it for any necessarily like good reasons, but he's also not doing it for any evil reasons either. He's just kind of like a chaotic neutral. So the theory is that Professor Egad created the Pikmin, and that somehow led to the apocalypse because in the Pikmin games, I don't know if you've played them, but the Pikmin can kind of only reproduce by killing things. So you kill the enemies and then they drag them back to the base, and they get sucked up into the base, and these spores shoot out and make more Pikmin for you. So they can only reproduce by killing things. Um, and the theory is like the Pikmin franchise take place in a future where Egad, he made the Pikmin and it led to our downfall. And here's the kicker. Here's where Olimar relates. So in Pikmin 1, Olimar comes down in his spaceship, and the Pikmin all are kind of like worshiping him. They like follow him, they do whatever he says, and he can't figure out why. Well, maybe it's because he looks like their creator and he kind of sounds like him too.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that's kind of the end of that theory, but I thought that was pretty cool.
I've never made a connection. um, but yeah, I mean, same time period. Say yeah, they do look alike. That's really all I can say outside of that. They do.
And they have the same gibberish talk, especially in 2. I don't know if he does it much in Pikmin 1, but in Pikmin 2 I was really picking up on how the language of his home planet sounds exactly like when Egad would talk. That same like and I know like Animal Crossing and all the games of that era were using the same type of gibberish talk, but it sounds kind of specific for him.
I think it's a cool fan theory. I mean, I've never thought of it that way, and I'm thinking about uh, like collabs I would like to see now. Like I would like to see Luigi sucking up some Pikmin. I mean, that would be sick. I mean, that would
If
be
you
awesome.
believe there's some sort of Nintendo timeline, which there isn't, um, after the first Luigi's Mansion game, perhaps he creates the Pikmin about that time because a little bit later we got the Mario Golf that came out on GameCube, and the Pikmin have a cameo in that game. So they're already starting to creep out into the world.
I like it. That sounds like a Reddit fan theory that I really enjoy. I don't know if the lore of Pikmin is really that deep, but I mean
It's
Arlo,
actually like intentionally vague for
yeah,
things like this. Like you see in the game, you'll see like all these things from our real lives, but you never see any people. And the world seems kind of empty and abandoned except for these animals. And like you'll see like a pen cap or like a bottle cap or what's something else you get. You actually collect like a Nintendo Game Boy Advance in one of them that's on the ground. Things like that, like just like random stuff that's lying around.
mhm. I I mean, sure, there's a lot we can say about Nintendo. I think from the very beginning, part of their success is just letting their art be, just letting their games more or less tell the stories. I mean, when we played Link to the Past for one of our episodes, like right away, I was like astonished by like how that game just allows you to like find out on your own. Just kind of like let it develop and let you interpret it and let you do things on your own. Just for example. Uh, so yeah, and again, I also don't know if the lore is that deep, but Arlo did make a 4-hour video on Pikmin, so perhaps it is. I mean, I need to play Pikmin 4 now that it's won awards and everyone's telling me about it. I've only played the first one, and I could play 2 and 3 now pretty easily. So got to had the demo downloaded. Um, there's actually a number of things. Um, yeah, I've been looking at like games that have come out and games that are coming out like next year. First of all, were we done with the Pikmin?
Yeah, I every that was a check mark on that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
I only have one other thing I want to talk about, so keep going.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. Well, part of the things that I put in our notes for this week is that
I
there
like the thing
was.
you listed here about the Sega games. I'm excited about that.
Let's do. All right. Let's do that next. Uh, well, part of one of the rumors I had for this week
Oh,
was
the
that
rumors. Yeah. Okay, so we do have a lot to talk about.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah, listeners, we don't have an order. We're gonna go back to Game Awards in just a bit. One of the rumors from about last week was that there were multiple leakers. I put in the parentheses tweeters. I don't know what leaker. Like I don't know how you get the title of leaker. I don't really know. But
There's
anyways,
one I follow on Twitter that's really accurate. I can't remember their name off the top of my head, but like the legend goes is that they were somebody who worked for Nintendo and is now leaking all their stuff out of spite or something. But they've been very accurate over the years. So years, I mean months. They were the ones who accurately leaked that the Super Mario RPG was coming. They accurately leaked that the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door was coming. They accurately leaked that the Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon remake was coming. So a lot of stuff that people didn't see coming, this person tweeted about a day before they announced it. I don't have their name though. Sorry.
The ones that I listed come from Revignus and Zubitech. I've heard of Zubitech. The other one I'm not so sure. They both suggest that a new system will come in March of 2024, which would be a new fiscal year for Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the titles coming out for Nintendo Switch, there's really nothing coming out. There's nothing really coming out past the summer, and there's no solid release dates past really the fiscal year. Of course, there could very well be overlap. Um, the last system came out in March. What do I have in my notes? Wait, no. Yeah, Switch came out in March 2017. So it would make sense for them to release a system in March. The part that wouldn't make sense is that it's December, it's 3 months out, it's right before the holidays, and they haven't made any announcements to
Well,
like start doing.
I read that in the notes too, and I've been reading it ever since. I remember earlier in this podcast, I predicted I was believing some rumors that they were going to drop something in March, and then everyone was like, "No, they're going to wait till Christmas," and then I started believing Christmas. I don't know what to believe anymore, but I will say I think we live in a different world now as far as like release windows, and I think they very well could wait like they could announce this in February and release it in March with the way news cycles work these days. Because think about this, when Apple releases like a new iPhone, they typically give literally like about 10 days notice. Like you have 10 days, less than 2 weeks to put in your pre-order for a new iPhone to get that thing. Um, there's lots of stuff that works that way now, and because I don't want to say the information age. That's so cliche, but like because of and saying social media is cliche, but because we live in the information age and we live in the age of social media, word spreads so fast that things can literally give you a window of. And the Apple thing is extreme. I don't think Nintendo's going to announce something that's 10 days away, but I could totally see them giving like a 2 month or even I don't know as low as like 6 week window before they announce this thing. Especially since you have it somewhere in the notes here. I know the Wii U was pretty quick after it was announced. 6 months, yeah.
Wii U was 6 months, and
The Switch was
Switch was
5.
Switch was 5 months, which of course was unprecedented following the Wii U.
I
Uh,
could see
uh,
that getting smaller. I could see that
yeah,
getting down to 3 months, maybe. I don't
I
know.
could see it getting smaller. But like what's the launch time? Okay, like we're gonna release the Switch 2 in March, and we're gonna release it with Breath of the Wild. Woo! Like what's the launch title gonna be? Like
Well,
Mario
here's the
Kart 8?
thing that I totally agree with, and you, I think, have it written somewhere in the notes too. Uh, Nintendo has been very quiet about what next year is going to be. In fact, that's what part of what led me diving into my back catalog was. Is I've said it before. All of the games that I'm looking forward to from Nintendo right now don't even have release dates. So there's nothing close enough right now that it even has a release date
Yeah.
for that I'm interested in anyway. So yeah, they've been very quiet. They could very well have a new Mario Odyssey style Mario game ready to launch. I honestly think if they've learned anything from the Switch, and I'm sure they've learned a ton, they know they need to launch the next system with something big. The failure of the Wii U, or part of the failure, was that it didn't have a library of anything interesting. They launched that with a bad launch and never even really got an original 3D Mario game. They got 3D World, but that's not technically what people are looking for. Um, they, they that whole system never really had the library. And I think
Well,
they learned that lesson from the Wii U. I think they learned that the Switch, boom, had Breath of the Wild day one, and it was huge. So maybe not. Maybe Metroid Prime 4, something big. And
yeah,
I know that's
yeah.
vague. I know
Me-
that's
Me-
vague, but something big is going to launch with it.
God, Metroid would be just like the ultimate. Like, are you kidding me? Like we've been waiting. We've been waiting seven like the entire life cycle of one system, and you're gonna just release it on the. Okay, I guess everyone's gonna buy it. Also, just expanding on that, I know they're looking over at like their competition, and they're thinking like, okay, like their next generation has been successful up at at this point. It's been successful, but those launches, in my opinion, were horrible. And the status of
Yes.
Xbox is not good. Like like they didn't have a launch title. If I'm being wrong about that, okay. And then like their biggest game so far is a bust, pretty much. Like Starfield. I don't know if you saw it yesterday. Who released it? They're saying modders are giving up on Starfield because it's too boring. I'm like, oh my god! Like the people who are making the game more fun are saying, nope, it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it trying to make this game more fun. So I mean, I think for sure, like they've learned a lot about it. It would be crazy to have a game, a new game released that quickly with. I just think of the amount of NDAs and everything that goes on with developing these games.
You know what I
But
also don't think is out of the question for at least the first year of the next system is a new Animal Crossing game, since they haven't supported the old one in forever, and they built a huge audience on that game. Of that, there's so many players that was their first Animal Crossing game. I could totally see them trying to strike while that iron is hot and release a new one.
yeah, I would say that, but I'm more pessimistic being the Animal Crossing guy, because I would think like striking while the oven's hot would be releasing more than one DLC.
Yeah.
Just that's it, right? And that DLC came with one update, and that was it. I mean, I thought if they had learned anything, and we're seeing this now with games, with other games that are pretty much Animal Crossing, is that if they were smart, they would have like just a calendar, and like every 2 months they would just, if they would just release closing every 2 months, people would play. Like people would
Hmm.
be logging in to get the new stuff. Um, just like the bare minimum. There will
I'm
be
just
a
trying to think of what, if not Mario and Zelda, since the Nintendo Switch was basically a very focused on Mario and Zelda system, what else could they launch with? And we also know that the Switch was dominated by Kirby, and Kirby doesn't have as big an audience as a Mario or a Zelda. They we just got a Pokemon. We could see a Pokemon launch with it. I don't know. But yeah, I think Metroid 4 is a good idea. An Animal Crossing. What else is there? Like a Mario Kart 10 might help, but
I'm, I'm
I don't
going to
know.
keep hammering Game Pass or something like that. Like I don't think it's out of the question that we get a Microsoft subscription service on Nintendo at some point.
I
That's what.
agree that it's not out of the question, but one thing that would surprise me if that happened is just thinking about, like, how does this affect Switch Online sales? Because it seems like two different subscription services. I don't know. That would be kind of a new territory for a system, you know?
Sure, sure. I don't know what it would look like. I don't know if you would do separate, and then you could combine both. And Game Pass is, in my opinion, a very good value. So if you could like package everything together and say like $100 a year, of course there's going to be certain games that you're going to get on Xbox Game Pass that you wouldn't get on the Nintendo Game Pass. Perhaps you don't even call it Game Pass. I mean, like I just think that relationship is growing very quickly. Uh,
Hmm. I think
and
Nintendo has pretty much all but admitted that Switch Online is going to be on the next system. They keep tiptoeing around it, saying like, "Oh, we're keeping it in mind for the future," and like vague things like that. So it's definitely going to be on there. So the question is, will something else as
yeah,
well?
would you prefer like for Switch Online? Would you prefer to have all of those games in one app, or do you not care?
I never really thought about it till you said it, so I guess I don't care. It would be it. Now that you mention it, it would kind of be cool to just launch one thing and then select the system and then select the game. But it doesn't bother me that they're in separate apps. I kind of like knowing how much more I played each one by ranking my playtime and seeing that I played so much Super Nintendo and almost no Sega Genesis.
That's
but
true.
other than that, I mean, you could just put those stats within the app. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's true. I mean, UI is like number one for me for a new system because as I've mentioned many times on here, I'm done with the Switch. Not the customization. I don't really care about that, but I want it all to be more streamlined,
Hmm.
which I'm sure it will. And again, like hopefully, they're being influenced and they're taking different ideas, innovations, talking to Microsoft, doing all these things. And there's also a lot more competition in this hybrid handheld space now as well. So I
Yeah.
I know I know they're looking at everything. Uh, so that's really it. I mean, I mean, also I'm kind of surprised that they're not releasing more switches, like more colors of the Switch Lite. Like if you want to think about it more of like the timeline of like the 3DS, I mean, we were getting like the 2DS XL in like the final year that it was out, I think. Um, did you ever like the 2DS?
I never held one. I loved my 3DS, and I maybe my Virtual Boy gave me all the training I needed for the 3DS, but I never got headaches from playing it like I heard people say. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just built for that 3D screen.
Just Kevin's just built different.
Yeah.
I thought the 2DS, like my friend had one and he loved it, but I thought it felt weird and like you couldn't like change the angle of it. Like, it felt clunky a little bit. And then
Hmm.
when the 2DS XL came out, I was like, this is kind of cool, but like we're still doing this? Like like and it just became very confusing at that point because then you had like the new 3DS XL, which I'm trying to get one eventually. um, so yeah, there's just not a whole lot in 2024. So will it be March, will it be the holiday season? um, but yeah, so going back to Game Awards, Nintendo won three awards. They won uh, simulation strategy game Pikmin 4, action adventure Tears of the Kingdom, and Mario Wonder for best family game.
Hmm.
And yes, I mean, like, I was surprised. Like, I don't usually watch Game Awards. I was surprised by like they were giving award winners like 30 seconds to talk, but
Yeah, I
and
saw a lot written about that. I didn't actually watch it, so I don't know, but I feel like they just feel like the video game industry doesn't have enough it's not as attention grabbing as like, watching movie stars accept an award. So I think that's all part of the directing of the the award show and the I don't know. I feel like it's definitely premeditated.
Yeah.
I feel like they were definitely like, all right, nobody cares about these people. Just get them up there, have them say their thank yous, and get them off so that we can. Because the focus of the movie industry is the actors and the directors, right? The focus of the video game industry is the games. So they're like, all right, show the game, show the game, show the game, have them say something and leave.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to. There's a lot of stress into like planning and like timing all of these things, and overall, like you want to like. I know you want to like over prepare, and you want to like. You just want to keep things moving along. If anything, like if
Mm-hmm.
anything, you just want to keep moving. There's actually there were a number of parts during the Game Awards where I was like, this is awkward. Like this is a bit awkward, but okay. Like, but we're moving on. So I've never really watched them, so I'm surprised how much it's really mostly new games, which like I think it's not too much of a coincidence that like E3 is now saying, just in case you haven't assumed by now, but we're done, uh, because it's kind of that's kind of what it is now. I was surprised by the amount of trailers. I was messaging you about the Kojima Peel project that's going to be very very scary, and there's tons and tons of rumors, ideas, theories flying around about this 1 minute trailer we got. Uh, and then, yeah, Sega had a really cool trailer. Apparently, 5 games in development, and they're saying that's just the start of this initiative. Um,
Yeah,
I
so
think
good
that's
things to come from Sega.
yeah. So Sega, in this
And
case,
of course,
any,
people already tried spinning that to say the Dreamcast 2 is coming because people can't go a month without saying, hey, here's evidence that we're going to get a Dreamcast 2. We're not getting the Dreamcast 2, people. Sega's not getting back in the console game. There's no reason for them to spend money on a system when they could just release their games on other systems. It's not
yeah.
happening.
The 5 games were for Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Crazy Taxi. And I gotta say, I'm pretty pumped for 3 or 4 of the 5. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I
Yeah,
would
I'll play a
probably,
new Crazy Taxi game all day. And I know you were talking about wanting a new Jet Set Radio. Golden Axe, I'm gonna have to see some gameplay footage to see if it's like a throwback, like kind of how the new Ninja Turtle game was, where it was a throwback to Turtles in Time. If Golden Axe is a throwback game and it plays like an arcade style game, I'll like that. If it's some kind of new thing, I'm gonna have to read reviews.
yeah, Jet Set for sure, Crazy Taxi for sure. I Streets of Rage feels like a game that I would play, I'd try out. I don't know if I would buy it, but I
I
would
hope the
definitely.
Offspring have some new music for that Crazy Taxi game.
I feel like they're gonna be pulling some nostalgia from it. The same reason why, like, I think in this next generation we're going to be seeing like more GameCube games, more 3DS games.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
another thing I was saying online recently is I don't know, somebody was saying that they're not, selling to our age group anymore. And I was like, totally, because I have seen nostalgia shift from the Nintendo 64 focus to now it's totally a GameCube focus now when they want to do like nostalgia posting. So yeah, we'll be at the Wii nostalgia before you know it. That's only like 3 or 4 years away from being 20 years old.
we're still waiting for Wind Waker, Twilight Princess.
It's 2 years away, less than
Yeah,
that. So yeah,
yeah.
the Nintendo Wii is going to be 20 years old soon.
The Nintendo Wii. Oh yeah, Wii. Yeah. Um, yeah. So we're we're still waiting. I anything Sega related. I'm pretty excited about. Can we get the Yakuza series or Shenmue on Switch? That would be great. Um,
They don't do
bring
anything with Shenmue that people want them to.
yeah, just bring more Sega games on to the Nintendo platform. Let me give me another option to play those games handheld. Um, That
Okay, the
that
the only other thing I wanted to talk about, oh sorry, did you have more?
that was it.
Okay. Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to talk about, I don't know if you even checked yours, is today, starting today, so you can still do it if you're listening when this episode goes up, is Nintendo put out their end of year Switch reporting thing, kind of like how Spotify does. Did you check yours?
Uh, oh no, you know what I
Ah.
that's negativity to me. But yeah, did you
Well,
check yours?
I did check mine, but before I get into talking about it, the thing that I mostly wanted to say was like I hate how social media will turn anything into a competition or negativity, and there's all these posts where people have like 8,000 hours played and they're like, "Can you beat this?" And it's like first off, there's only
That's an
like
entire year.
exactly, there's only like 8,200 hours in a year or something like that. So you just left your Switch on. But yeah, like people will turn anything into a competition, and I don't know, maybe this is a huge rant, but I hate that that's what a lot of things turn into. Like even just video game collecting turns into like people posting these clearly lies about where they found like they'll have like a sealed in the box copy of like Earthbound or something that's like a like a $3,000 game, and they'll be like, I found this behind a couch or something like I don't know. Everyone turns this into this competition like for everything, and I hate that we can't even just have like a cool little statistic thing without people turning it into a who played their Switch the longest contest or who played the most number of games. It counts that too. Like, yeah, you can play a game for 15 seconds. It's not hard,
Who?
especially if you have any of these services where you can rent the games.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Who touched
anyway,
grass more?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's my rant about that. If you played,
Who?
if your end of year shows that you played 1,200 games this year, I don't believe you played a single one of them. And if it shows you played 8,000 hours, I believe you played about probably what the rest of us played, which is like 600 to 1,000 hours, maybe.
I
Um,
I don't want to know. I really it's just like I like for me like it would be like the opposite of like it's like oh you didn't play games very much, good job. Like
yeah,
it's like it's like you got some vitamin D today, like you went outside, like way to go. I
that said, I will give a shout out to the top 3 games I played this year because I feel it's relevant. And these are actual hours, not me trying to win a contest or anything. Um, so Grandia HD Collection, kind of a cheat because it's 2 games and it only counts it as one. But I played that for 77 hours. So divide that out. That's about how much each Grandia game is. Um, Second place was Pokemon Violet. I played that for 72 hours, which makes sense because I did the entire Pokedex. Um, and then another game I talked about on this podcast a lot, the game I played the third most was Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, 72 hours, which is the same as Violet. So it must have been just a little less. I don't know. But yeah, 72 hours for that as well. And yeah, that game is like the size of Tears of the Kingdom. There's so much extra stuff in Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. 72 hours worth of stuff. So yeah,
yeah,
those are my 3.
none of that is bad. I mean, I am always I don't know if impressed is the right word. I'm always surprised. I'll always be surprised about how many hours people can put into a game. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I follow a couple people on Twitter, and they're MLB the show, like they grind MLB the show, like they like you can advance your cards up to a certain amount. I'm not gonna get into it now, but anyways, like some of these people will legit play like 16, 20 hours a day every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's like
Oh, for sure. Because
it's
going
so
all the way
crazy.
back to the beginning of this podcast, I saw a lot of people saying that Mario RPG wasn't worth a purchase price because of how few hours you spend playing it. And I'm just like, yeah, but I'm going to replay this game over and over and over again. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the time I'm done with the Switch, I've played this thing for 100 hours. Just because they're not all on one file doesn't mean, you don't play it. So yeah, some of these people are like, I literally saw you said 16 hours a day, and I literally saw people saying like, why would I buy a game I'll beat in one play session? I'm like, why is one play session for you 16 hours? That's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, it just depends. I mean, like I got into high school in 2004, and like outside of like the serious problems like children can have or have like in a public school, World of Warcraft was right up there
Yeah.
for people that I knew. Like I knew people that were legit failing out of high school because of that game. I mean, like
I don't have it in me to tell you the truth. Like, honestly, I've had days where I have nothing to do and I'll throw on video games. And I think I max out at about 4 hours. Once I've been playing video games for 4 hours, I have this intense feeling of like, all right, I need to do something else.
that's good.
So I don't know how people get past that wall.
That's good. I can tell you. Well, I can tell you like the other game that I played this week. I'm gonna start Mario Wonder again today. The other game that I played this week was Stardew Valley, and I can tell you that for me that can be a time sink.
Mm-hmm.
But I played it. I started playing it. Well, my friend wanted to play it, but also I was sick, and I was also like very stressed this week. Sitting here today, I'm fine. Like everything is fine at this point. But if you have any friends that all of a sudden start playing Stardew Valley, you might want to check in on them. just, just not necessarily like most of them I'm sure are fine, but they might be just kind of going through things. So yeah, that's good. I mean, there's definitely been days where I've uh, played too much, and then I stand up and go outside and think, oh man, like that's just not good. Having a balance. We would be remiss. We have not talked about the new online service games. It would be bad if we didn't do that before we get into the spotlight.
I don't even
Because
know what you're referring to, so educate me.
so we haven't recorded in 2 weeks. The new games that came out
Oh, the
on
games that are on the service. Okay, I know what you
the
mean now. Yeah,
online service.
correct.
Um,
I've got a lot to say about all three of them. I almost feel like we should hold it off till next week. But yeah, go ahead. They added Harvest Moon, Jet Force Gemini, and 1080 snowboarding. And I could honestly talk for 20 minutes about each one, which
oh,
hopefully we will if the randomizer picks them.
Oh, sure. So just in case listeners missed it, it's Jet Force Gemini N64, Harvest Moon 64, and wait, what's the other one? 1080 snowboarding
Snowboarding.
for
Oh, and
N64.
I've got a piece of information here. Let me see if I can find it. You remember I couldn't find how many tribals were in Jet Force Gemini?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And now I can't find it. I took a screen grab of the actual number. Okay. So there are 282 tribals spread across 15 levels, and you have to collect. This is what I was saying that week is like the fundamental flaw of that game is in order to get access to the final boss, not optional. Like if you want to see the credits roll and fight the final boss, you need to rescue and find all 282 tribals. So that's the number.
And now you can find all of them on the online service. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the biggest flaw in that game really is they really should have, you know, made some sort of extra reward for if you find them all, but give you access to the end boss if you find 200 of them or 150, something. But okay. Now we can talk about ice hockey.
Yeah, very very cool release. I guess we kind of knew about all of them. and
Yep.
we'll talk about all of these more when we get to it. But yeah,
Harvest Moon is definitely on the list of games I've played the most in my life. Like before Stardew Valley came out, I I that's another game that I would play nonstop, and I have done everything there is to do in the game, and I could talk forever about the glitches and tell you all the ways you can exploit the game, and I could tell you all the things they designed for the game that didn't make it into the game, and yeah, I know so much about that.
yeah. I don't remember playing the N64 one
It's the
as
best
much,
one,
but
dude. It's the best
yeah,
one.
yeah. So I
It's
have
the
to.
reason Concerned Ape made Stardew Valley is he was frustrated that nothing after Harvest Moon 64 was as good. So he was like, "You know what? I'm just going to make my own Harvest Moon 64."
Yeah, and I'm patiently waiting for that update now. That's actually another reason why I got back into Stardew was because I'm waiting to see what when this update is going to come out. Uh, so yeah, all very exciting. So yeah, I'll let you kick off the spotlight game.
So Ice Hockey was released in Japan January in 98 and North America in March of 88. We got it first. So one thing that I thought was interesting about this game is the game designer Hideki Kono later went on to direct and produce Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, and the first Luigi's Mansion game. So, not a lightweight.
No,
I don't know if this
and
was his first game, but he had a pretty big career after.
quite the variety of games. A very interesting game to start with. Uh, so yeah, this is not a sports game I played as much growing up. I know this is one that I had, um, and I think it's great. It might be the best like top down hockey game on Nintendo. The other one
Mm-hmm.
that I had played on the system was Wayne Gretzky hockey, and like I played it so much, but I went back and looked at it, and yeah, it was horrible. Like apparently, I used to like I used to play like really good and really bad sports games on the NES. Um, I'm not sure why they chose to make this game 4-on-4, unless it was just the amount of space they actually had to work with, and why it's not a 5-on-5 hockey game.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that until you just said it, but that's a good point.
Yeah, whether it's like space on the cartridge, space actually on your screen. This game also has Soviet Union and Czechoslovakia.
Only in
So,
the North American and European version, though. Did you know
oh,
that?
oh,
So
so
yeah, for the PAL versions, Nintendo removed Japan from the team roster and included Sweden instead. And for the North American and European version, the teams are United States, Sweden, Czechoslovakia, Canada, Poland, and the Soviet Union. But on the Famicom Japanese version, the lineup is Japan, which is different, United States, Czechoslovakia, Canada, Poland. Oh no, Poland's in both. Oh, and they have Soviet Union. So I guess Japan's the biggest difference. Japan, and they don't have Sweden. I don't know why.
I mean, these are just like names and colors. I mean, like it
Exactly.
has nothing to do with the
I guarantee you
actual.
most people who play this game don't even know that that's what those teams are. They're just like, I'm the blue, I'm the green, we're ready to go.
Well, that's fine because again, it includes names like the Soviet Union and Czechoslovakia. So I think that's probably the best. Like I don't know. It just like it reminds me. Oh yeah, this game did come out at, during while these were still countries. Anyways,
Yeah,
I,
Soviet Union went till 91, I think.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there was,
exactly.
unless you're including Street Fighter, they hung on a little longer in Street Fighter.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
that could be true, and also like including like Soviet Union in a hockey game isn't that weird. I mean, like especially in America, especially like Miracle on Ice and
Hmm.
everything like that. So I like they include the Mario Brothers in level sound, or like they do a some kind of variety of that, like the ba da 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 da, like when you score a goal.
Yeah, it's funny when the games did that in the original NES games, it kind of reminds me of Atari, how they would also recycle sound effects and stuff, and it I don't know, something about that era of games like feels very specific in how they would do that.
Yeah, where it's like we're gonna immerse you in this arcade hockey game, but oh, it's Nintendo. Like it's got that Nintendo brand to it. Uh, I talking about like the different teams, and of course like it's basically like red team, blue team. I thought it was cool that you do get to choose which type of players you get um, like in your lineup. I thought that also is another way to save space on the cartridge, but you can choose like it's been a while now, like the bruising fat guy, and then like the small fast one, and then there's like a third person, right?
Hmm.
There's like three that you can choose from. So I thought that was pretty cool, like adding just a layer of depth to it, and also creating a way that you can fit all of that onto one game.
Yeah, I'm looking at Sean's ranking here because he did put it in his ranking, even though he couldn't be here tonight. And he apparently loved this game. He didn't send me any information, but it's in his top 10 for now. He put it at number 8. He ranked it below Super Mario World and above NES Open Golf.
Wow,
Yeah.
above open golf. Yeah, he liked open golf quite a bit. I haven't ranked it yet.
I put this one. I think I have about the same amount of entertainment out of this as I do out of NES Baseball. I think I liked NES Baseball a little more, so I put this right below that. They're almost even though. Like they're both really fun and they're both in the upper tier of my list here. So I ranked it at number 23. Like I said, that puts it below baseball and right above Game and Watch Gallery 3. So it's at the lower end of the top tier, but definitely I think my I think the games I will play again section of my list goes until about number 26 and I rank this 23.
Well, I do love NES baseball. I unfortunately it's way low on my list just based on the type of game that it is. And yeah, I think to be fair, I need to rank it below NES baseball. I'll put ice hockey at 33.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a definitely especially like it just as like a multiplayer game. It is a game that I would play again. It does make me feel bad that uh, like I've brought up the fact that Nintendo doesn't have like NHL Rewind, which is the remake of NHL '94, because probably because of the relationship between EA and Nintendo. Because you can play NHL Rewind on PlayStation, on Xbox, and I just think it's a game that everyone should have access to. Why not? If anyone out here likes NES ice hockey, I highly recommend Mario Lemieux Hockey, released on Genesis. It released in 1994. It's basically just like a nicer version of NES ice hockey, in my opinion. And I think it's unfortunate that Nintendo didn't get a hockey player named Mario. That's my last part. That's the last part that I'll add. Um, but if you like that game, you'll definitely like this game on Genesis. I actually wish they would release it on the online service.
All right, well, let's find out what game we're playing next time, and we can see if people like that game too. Nice. So we are playing. I've actually always wanted to throw this game on, and I've just never had the excuse. So now I do. It's our boy who's got way too many games. We're playing Kirby's Dream Land 3 for the Super Nintendo for next episode. Have you
Nice.
played this?
I don't think so. I wasn't much of Super Nintendo, so I don't think so. But I'll get to reuse my Kirby meme for next week, so I'm happy about that. Um, cool. Play something new.
Yeah, and it's a highly regarded game, so I'm kind of excited. Uh, it's no Harvest Moon 64. I was kind of hoping that would come up, but
We'll
it's
get to
someday.
it. We'll get to it.
And if you out there have anything to say about Kirby's Dream Land 3 or NES ice hockey, the rumors, do you think the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to just randomly drop in March with no notifications and they're going to pull an Apple and be like, hey, in 10 days you can buy this? Is that something you think is going to happen? Email, let us know. nintendotherapypod@gmail.com. Pretty much anything Nintendo related, we'll read it on the air. Send us your Nintendo therapy. If you've just got something you've got to get off your chest about Nintendo, send it to us. Just remember that we're Nintendo fans. We're not Nintendo experts, so we might get it wrong. And that is everything I have to say about Nintendo this week. And I promise you guys I won't miss next week. That's not going to become a habit. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.